anytime a team bounces it outside, our team is just kind of like, "Oh, yeah, well, there's a sideline. They'll figure it out." Like, what are
Who,
we
who are
doing?
who are your edge guys? Tweedledee and Tweedledum? What's going on there?
Um,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cold Blooded Podcast. That is my co-host Drew Lynch,
And that's my co-host Isaac Allen.
and we are here with fellow comedian, writer. Are you a director too?
yeah, director, producer, yeah, all of those things.
He does it all,
Dude,
man. Kevin was
extreme.
built in a factory. He's beautiful. He's talented. I can't do. There's nothing he can't do.
Oh, dude, the day he told me his about his time training in Thailand doing Muay Thai, I was like, this is not fair. You're not allowed to do all those things. You can't
Yeah,
be good looking and funny and writing talented and
yeah,
driven and fight. Come on,
yeah,
easy,
yeah.
Yeah,
buddy.
that would have been a really great experience if it weren't for my ego being destroyed, getting beat up by 13-year-olds in Thailand.
Yeah, but that's what makes
Well,
it even. That's what makes it
that's what
even
happens when you have
more.
sex with them, Kevin. They're gonna be upset.
Hey, man, don't put that out there. I got enough trouble in my life.
All right, that's a really inappropriate start.
Yeah,
Um,
it definitely is. Well, here it's inappropriate because look, we are all three lamenting the losses of our franchises. Yesterday, Colts lost a tough one to a divisional game to the Texans, and then your Packers, Kevin, lost a tough one to the Eagles. Man, quick thoughts about the game you guys played.
Well, let's be honest and let's be fair. First of all, my Packers lost to a perennial a playoff team and Super Bowl team in Brazil, which they had no business being there at all. And your team lost at home, which is by all means unacceptable. So I feel like we're a little bit more winners than you guys are this week. But
mm.
who's counting?
Yeah,
Well, I don't know
I,
about that with the Jordan Love thing. Well,
yeah,
that's definitely
that was your biggest loss. Is you got? I mean, everybody lost to that field. That was what made me. That was what made me most upset. I was like, why? Like, it's not going to translate. You can't just have it be a soccer field and then have the football players be, like, have it go successfully. Everyone was slipping and sliding everywhere. No one could trust anything.
Yeah, it's terrible. I understand the NFL trying to expand the game globally, but it's everybody knows about it. They're either interested in it or not. It's not like we're going to get a fucking Sao Paulo team, in the NFL. So what are we doing?
and football should not be played on a soccer field. I've said it again a million times. I don't say it again. It just should not be played on a soccer field. It's watching us as Colts fans watching Adam Vinatieri and Carson, that field in San Diego, which I think is a soccer field. Not even in San Diego, Carson or whatever it is, where the
Yeah.
Chargers used to play, and watching Vinatieri miss 3 kicks, easily makeable kicks, and lose the game for us week one that year was like I was there too. That was brutal. I was just sitting there going like, Pro Bowler, where's the Pro Bowler? Like, where did he go? But let's move on to week two because we got you guys coming up. And I know I got a couple questions, man. How do you feel about the Packers' run defense right now? Because it's a perennial mess lately. And it's gotten, I guess, a little bit better. But what do you think how important do you think that is going into a matchup with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson running RPOs?
I mean, here's the thing. I'm not real worried about your guys' quarterback play. It's been spotty. It's been spotty at best, and that's me being as nice as I possibly can.
Oh,
So
come on, dude.
yeah, listen, our secondary. I'm not worried about our secondary. What I'm worried about is for some reason, and I don't understand why this is, but we allow running backs for some reason to just bounce outside, and it seems like we have no containment at all ever, and I don't
Mhm.
understand how that works. Like, we're great up the gut. If you want to run it down the middle, I'm happy. I'm happy if teams want to run it up the gut. But for some reason, it seems like anytime a team bounces it outside, our team is just kind of like, "Oh, yeah, well, there's a sideline. They'll figure it out." Like, what are
Who,
we
who are
doing?
your who are your edge guys? Tweedledee and Tweedledum? fuck's going on there?
I don't know, man. It's hard. It's hard to like we've got Slayton. Our tackles are Slayton and Kenny. Or I'm sorry, Kenny Clark, and it's just like I don't know what Slayton sometimes looks like a Pro Bowler, and then every once in a while it looks like he's playing Pop Warner. And it always seems to when they bounce to his side, and anytime they go, to his side, it seems like he just kind of takes plays off, and now we're getting gouged for 25-yard runs.
Yeah, and Drew and I, this was the game when we did our predictions on this podcast a while ago. This was the game that Drew and I flip-flopped on the most, but that was only because of Jordan Love. I don't know what do you think, Drew? Because I feel like we're kind of going to take this game.
I do feel more confident in it, unfortunately, knowing that Jordan Love is out. I mean, and that is you never wish to have someone. Sorry, I'm sorry, having a really bad stutter day today. You never wish someone to have their quarterback down, and I'm glad that it's just a sprain and not a tear. I told you, Isaac, that I want to be challenged by other quarterbacks. I want the full force of what another team can do. Nobody ever wants to win on the merits of one other team's star player going down or being out. But that being said, I think Malik Willis, if he is someone who is up, he has a bit of a deer in the headlights type vibe, and I think our defense will be predicated on that. And I do think that in that way, it will kind of be the battle of the defenses because I think Green Bay's secondary is stout. We just played a stout secondary, and yes, we made some. We didn't have. We had some. It didn't have the best time to communicate as well, or we had some miscommunications. But at the same time, it just we're not as accurate as say someone like Jordan Love would be on that side of the ball. So it really is what is it that your defense can do, and the leg up that Green Bay has on us, knowing that they just played Jalen Hurts with a lot of RPOs. I mean, they just played Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, who by all accounts seem to have been a more cohesive offensive unit.
I mean, look, I get that the Eagles are great, but their secondary is still trash. And their run defense is good, and their offense just isn't the same without Shane Steichen. I mean, the Colts had 20 minutes of offensive possession versus 40 for the Texans. Like, you don't really get like I see what you're saying, Kevin, and you can talk all this shit, but that's not enough of a sample size to see where Richardson's at, though him only having played 16 games since high school is like spotty is definitely the word I would use to describe. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think I agree. I agree with Drew. I think this is going to be a defensive battle, and I honestly think that this thing is going to come down to one possession. I think it's going to come down to a single turnover. To be honest with you, and I think our run defense is good enough to force you guys to throw, and I think our secondary is good and good enough that I think they're gonna pick you guys off. And I think that's gonna be, we've got Josh Jacobs, and Josh Jacobs is just kind of like a bowling ball that we can just kind of send through your line consistently. And then we've got Wilson, because Lloyd is hurt, but we've got Wilson who's he's really good. He's a really good receiving running back, and he's deceptively fast. So I think we're going to go super heavy on the run game, obviously, because I don't trust Willis to throw the ball at all. Yeah. But I think it's going to come down to one turnover, and I love our secondary.
Dude, you make a great point that's like, I mean, like to go from Joe Mixon's big ass and let him gash us and be all tired from that. And then, like I said, 40 minutes of possession of them just running all over us. Stroud didn't even really do much. And then to go from Mixon to Jacobs, I mean, it's like, what are we in the MCU? Is this like a Marvel thing where it's like, okay, we just tried to take on Thanos and he snapped us out of it. Oh, and now there's another big bad that's even stronger than he is. It's like, dude, when are we going to get like a cush? When are we just going to get like one villain we can like stab in the eye and then he dies? And you're like, okay, we got what? We're 1-2 now. You know what I mean? Like,
I will say I feel more worried about I would have felt more worried about us coming off of a defensive performance with that loss that still presented the idea that we have a more stout defense, run defense, and the fact that that will be the thing that the Packers have to lean into and
Mm.
make Malik Willis one dimensional or more one dimensional. Is kind of a bit worrisome. I mean, if this was a conversation we had had last year, even, I would have felt a little bit more confident in our run defense. But the performance that we just kind of put up or the lack of performance that we put up where we allowed Joe Mixon to run for over 150 is, frankly embarrassing. And I do agree that there will be turnovers and probably on both sides of the ball, because I think that this defense, when it comes to what they plan to do with Malik Willis in the event that he ever drops back, I think if there's going to be a turnover from us, it will be forcing him to make a mistake in the air in that way because of our defensive front, or simply a strip sack or something like that from our backfield. Because I was impressed with our ability to get into the backfield, to put pressure on Stroud, speed up his clock, make him make some questionable decisions, because there were 2 interceptions yesterday that were overturned. So I think like that from Stroud that he threw. So there was some luck that went his way, some things that kind of, the mold of what the pass rush is supposed to do and how the secondary is supposed to respond was in place yesterday. It just didn't fall in our favor. And in that way, I think I feel so much. I would feel better. Even if we won that game yesterday, I would feel worse going into Green Bay knowing that we still laid an egg as far as our run defense.
Yeah,
Your
I mean,
tackles, your tackles played really well this week. But the middle of your defensive line looked a little soft.
bro,
It looked like
Yes.
Mixon. It looked like Mixon wasn't, for some reason. It looked like Mixon really wasn't having to cut very much when he was going through the middle of the line. It was just kind of, they were getting
well,
blown off the line pretty
hold
much
on.
every time.
You are right. They were getting blown off the line, but I noticed that none of our line. Here's what surprised me. We have maybe the best linebacking duo, at least top 5 on paper, with EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin. Like, they're a really, really fucking good duo. But the more the game went on, the more I noticed they lost their get. If you rewind it and you look at the amount of times that they ran stretch plays. They ran stretch plays for Mixon to cut back, right? Either right or left, however, patient behind the line, and then cut back. The amount of times they did that, and Speed and Zaire did not hold their gaps. They did not just shoot down the gap and miss tackles. Like, if you rewind the tape, I'm telling you, there's a lot of lunging going on where I'm like, aren't you 2 guys supposed to be these tackling, especially Zaire? You led the league in tackles last year, and EJ had over like 120 tackles last year. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You know who had all the tackles yesterday on the running backs? The safeties. Nick Cross and Julian Blackman combined for 27 tackles, and I bet 20 of them were on Joe Mixon. And those little motherfuckers don't want to be hitting that big dude all day. By the fourth quarter, Jalen Jones was like, I'm going to go for the ankles, and that's it. Like, he was like, I'm done hitting Mixon up high. I'm trying to grab his shoelaces and hang on for dear life. That's all I'm willing to do.
If it goes that way this week, if they're leaving Blackman and Cross out on an island with Jacobs, that's a big problem.
He's going to be a literal bowling ball, like you said.
Yeah, he's going to run right. He's going to run right through him.
How is Jacobs as a stretch play guy, though, like an outside one cut guy? Because isn't he more of an up the middle guy? Because if that's the case, I'm not quite as worried.
He's really good up the middle, but he's really crafty. He's really shifty with his footwork. Like, he's not a guy who's going to plant his foot in the ground, and make a hard cut. He's a guy who's going to give you a little dip inside and go outside, but it's enough to make you shift. And he's so big. All he's got to do is get your shoulders a little bit, parallel to the sidelines, and you're not tackling him.
His footwork reminds me of Jonathan Taylor's a little bit. They have very similar, like, hey, I'm just in the hole and just doing these little maneuvers. It's like driving a Tesla through traffic. Like, you can just go faster than everyone else. Like, all of a sudden you're gaining 4 minutes on your route because you're just like, oh, I'm just kind of dipping in here and there and out. Like that's the way JT and Jacobs are
he's
going for
very
them.
much like he's very much like a Frank Gore type running back in his prime.
Ooh, yeah. Good comp.
But he could
Good comp.
catch. But Jacobs could catch as well.
Which we didn't know until last year. That's probably why the
Yeah.
Packers picked him up.
Who on your offensive side of the ball do you think defensive coordinators are game planning for?
I mean, this week it's hard to say.
Gotta be
I
Jacobs,
think
right?
yeah, I would say yeah. This week they're going to have to focus mostly on Jacobs because they're going to take the ball out of Willis's hands. You know, I don't see them. I don't see them trying to throw the ball. I think this is going to be old school Green Bay smash mouth, run it up the middle until you stop us type football. And then I think one thing that they're not, if they're going to game plan for Jacobs, they're gonna pack so many people in the box that I think it's going to open up Wilson. I think they're going to use Wilson a lot in the slot because Wilson because he's a really good receiving running back. And I think you'll see I think once you guys figure out how to stop Jacobs, I think then they're going to start running the option because the good thing about Malik Willis is that he can run.
Dude, I would have laughed if you were just like Tyler Kraft. I mean Tucker Kraft, like whatever. They were like, dude, it's all on him, dude. It's all in Kraft, man. Mac and cheese, baby. He's going to be the deciding factor, or Musgrave. It's those two, fucking Grave and Kraft. I feel like you're right though. But Wilson looked good. Wilson looked really good.
Yeah, he's an underrated speed guy, and he's really tricky. He's really tricky in the slot. And I think if they once you guys start picking up on, once you guys start stacking the box with Jacobs, then we start running the option. We start putting Wilson in the slot. I think it'll open things up a little bit. And I think constantly having to try to take down Jacobs is going to tire out your secondary, your linebackers and your safeties. And then they're going to start, once they start kind of sinking into the box, that's when I think they'll start taking shots.
Agreed.
So my next question is, sorry, Isaac, real quick. My next question is the same question, but inverted. Who do you think that offensive coordinators have to game plan for on your defensive side of the ball?
You know what? Like, I think I'm not, like I said, I don't love our corners right now. I love our I love our safeties. I love our linebackers. I love what's his name?
Jair
Alexander.
Jair Alexander. I love him. But the only problem is they're going to have to put him on downs, and he's going to have to play downs the whole game.
If Downs plays.
If Downs plays. But even if he doesn't play, I think you guys have what's that other receiver you guys have? I think Dulins. Is it Dulins?
He's our 5. He's our wide receiver 5.
I don't think they use that guy enough. That guy's so fast. That guy is
speed.
So fast. He's straight line speed. Fast. Yeah, he's straight line fast. And I think if they use him, if they bring in somebody like Dulins, if Downs doesn't play, and they can pull Jair Alexander out of kind of pull him out of the middle of the field or pull him out of coverage, I think they can pick apart the middle of our defense pretty easily because I don't like our safeties.
Interesting.
I think dinking and dunking is probably your guys' best way of beating us this week. I think it's a Tom Brady heavy type dinking and dunking game.
Well, we'll see if Richardson could even do that because that's not his bag. I mean, you saw him this week. Those bombs, I mean, he's got some accuracy on those bombs, and he's got some. I mean, I think the one thing you'd never want to underestimate with him, especially if you're Green Bay and you get gashed in the run a lot over the last few years, is like not only Jonathan Taylor, but Richardson is a faster Josh Allen. He's actually 10 pounds heavier, and he's faster and shiftier, technically, like as far as quick twitch goes. So it's like you guys really got to. I mean, it's going to be a lot of RPOs, I feel like, next week against you guys. I feel like it's like we're going to try and do the same thing you guys do. We're going to try and bring people into the box so that Richardson can go, all right, Adonai, all right, Doolin, all right, Pierce, do your go routes. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Pittman as well. Pittman makes me a little nervous.
I I think the if there was a game plan on tape, if there was a tape to look at so you could game plan against us, uh, we just put the best one together for you guys because because it's clear Richardson has an arm and it's clear that our wide receivers can make contested throws. But if you play if you drop back and you play deep with your secondary, then you would kind of have to try to have us matriculate down the field by making some layups. And I just don't know. We don't know if that is something that is necessarily, like Isaac said, in Richardson's bag. Even though it's like, yeah, you worry about Jonathan Taylor, but at the same time, like I don't know. I think there is a lot on tape that you can look at from that game against the Texans and be like, this is something that I think we can patch up.
But it's interesting. Sorry, Drew. It's interesting, Kevin, that you say though, and that Drew, you're agreeing with him. I think I kind of disagree with you both. It's interesting you're saying that the dink and dunk is the answer because I feel the opposite. I feel like it's the run game and the deep ball because we already mentioned Green Bay's run woes over the years, but like run defense woes, but like I know you guys have usually had a secondary that makes up for it. That's what I remember. I always remember you guys as like a secondary, just stacked team for however many years, while the run defense was sort of like it was like bend don't break. And then, but watching yesterday, and you say you don't like the safeties, and Jair gave up a lot of. He made some big plays, but he gave up a lot of big plays in week one. Do you? I mean, I feel like the deep ball, setting up the play action deep ball might be a better option than the dink and dunk after we run it a lot. But I want to hear what you think about it, Kevin, about that because maybe I could be wrong about Jair. I'm thinking he might be kind of past his prime, but you can correct me on that. Like I don't know.
Um, Look, all things considered, first of all, we should have won that game last week.
Same
Even
same
even
here.
even though Love got hurt, we got three turnovers. Our defense played lights out. We got three turnovers. Um, we had more total yards. We had somehow they got more first downs than we did, even though we turned them over three times, which is it's mind boggling. It doesn't make sense to me. But we
More
should have won
possessions.
that game. We should have won that game. And the only thing it comes down to is obviously inefficiency in our offense because Love went out. But when you get three turnovers in a game and you score 29 points, you should win that game. I still don't know how we lost that game. But
Well,
I
didn't
think
Love? I
what's
thought he
that?
went out. I thought Love went out with only like 8 seconds left or something like that in the game.
Well, he was hurt the whole game.
I see what you're
He
saying.
was
Okay.
he was hurt. He was hurt the whole game. He wasn't at 100% the whole game. But the issue for me is I don't like. First of all, like I said, I don't like the fact that they're playing in Brazil and all of that. I
Just blame
think
Brazil.
what's
blame
that?
Brazil for blame Brazil. Be like fucking you
Yeah,
ruined our Green Bay like conditioning.
you ruined our team basically. Like, I think it's so dumb that you have people flying 14 hours to go play a game in front of people that would rather be they're at the half of them were at the soccer stadium like what the fuck is this? I thought it was a soccer game. I thought Packers versus
Yeah.
Eagles was like MLS soccer. What the fuck is this?
That ball's not
So
the right shape. What's going on
yeah,
here?
wait, why are they touching it? Like I don't why
Yeah.
are they holding it? But
Why
that
are
was
people
that's
hitting each other?
yeah. Why are they wearing pads? Why isn't anybody flopping? That guy touched him twice. But the thing that I don't think people understand how easy it is to dink and dunk on the Packers right now because of our soft middle. But I also doing what Tom Brady did for years and dinking and dunking is really difficult. Like that's like you said, your Richardson
Yep.
might not be capable of that, because to be accurate, when guys have big arms and they have cannons, that's how they're accurate, because they can hammer the ball in there, they can throw it with velocity, and it'll get to where it's going. With, you don't have to have finesse, because that's what they do. They wing the ball. But when you have to have finesse and you have to take a little bit off the ball, your accuracy drops. And I think, I'm not that afraid of your guys' running game. The only thing that I can say is,
Wow.
if you guys dink and dunk,
Wow.
we're gonna have a problem.
Them some fighting words, man. I know JT had one rough game, but we still amassed over 100 yards on the ground. I'm just gonna say that.
We're not scared of your running game.
What? Oh,
I would
bro.
I would love to see you guys run the ball on us.
JT's
Like,
about to go off for a $120. I'm telling you, in 2 tuds.
not
I'm
happening.
telling you. I'm telling
Not
you, it's
happening.
happening, bro.
What do you
I
think,
will.
Drew? What do you think? Okay, let's say this, Drew. What are you more confident in? Are you more confident in your defense or your run game?
Definitely our run game as if this time.
Mhm.
And if there is something that I feel like this game is going to be really, what I'm most excited about in this game is for Richardson to try to 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 try to make more accurate passes. I want to see that. Even if it results in a loss, I want to see it be tested against a very good secondary, I would say, at least in your corners,
Mhm.
and keep you guys honest in that way. Because if that's something that he is able to do in a bounce back game where he was a little bit erratic in terms of his the throws that he did make were very, very much so downfield, and then, some incompletions for what would be considered layups. I think if he is able to keep you guys honest in that way, I actually do think that I think that we can win, because I mean, our defense got embarrassed, and then our offense made some pretty splashy plays, and I just think there is a world where Green Bay gets surprised twice. So
I want to bring up one last point before we go and hear both your guys' responses to this, because I do agree with Kevin on one thing. I think it is going to be a dogfight, and let's make no mistake, Drew. Richardson was just like the Rams game last year. He was the reason we were in that game. The defense, he had 20 minutes of. You remember when Peyton Manning played the Dolphins and he had 10 minutes of possession because they ran all over us for 50 minutes and he still won, but it was like razor thin. Like Richardson almost took us to victory because, like you were saying, Kevin, this is the last point I wanted to make. We should have won that game too, and that's why I think it's going to be a dogfight. These two teams are coming in both going like we shot ourselves in the foot on offense, and us on defense, you guys on offense, and like your defense caused 3 turnovers. They're just sitting there going like we allowed some big plays, but we did our part, and then the offense is like, well, we put up 27 points, and I mean there was Adonai Mitchell was wide open 5 separate times for 2 touchdowns, and Richardson just like you said erratic on both because they were intermediate, they weren't deep or short. He just can't throw intermediate passes. So I
Yeah.
think both teams are going to come in being like, we should have won, and we're pissed, and like we got run all over, we got allowed too many big plays, and I think that's why you're right. It's going to come down to like 1 turnover and like 1 possession. But the Malik Willis of it all, we played Malik Willis I think 1 or 1.5 games, and we handled him very well when he was in our division. But I still agree with you. So I want to hear what you guys think about that.
yeah, I would say let's hear final score predictions if we won, and then Kevin, your
Mhm.
response to that.
I'm saying Green Bay 24-20. I think
Okay.
I think it's going to be a run heavy game. I think it's going to be a defensive battle, and I think the only reason we take it is because we win the turnover battle 2-1.
Wow, that's really good.
Mm.
What are your thoughts, Isaac?
I think it's going to be like Colts like 24-10, and no disrespect to the Packers. I just don't respect Malik Willis because he's been in our division for so long, and I know him. I know his ceiling, and it's about the same ceiling in this cruise cabin. I'm going to be honest with you, like Kevin, and that's literally no. If it was love, I might say Colts L like 24-20, like your score, honestly. But the fact is, Malik Willis changes everything. He's been in the AFC South, and we've seen him and his potential, and it's like his ceiling's like 50% lower than like Jordan Love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As
What
passionate
do
as
you
I
think?
am as a fan, I am also very conscientious of not being a a homer. Sorry, and I think the answer is probably somewhere a little bit between these two. I wouldn't think that it would be that drastic of a deficit, Isaac, and I also Kevin do actually think that this is a bounce back game for the Colts. For whatever reason, I usually don't. I usually just don't know why I always try to play devil's advocate in my predictions, but for me, I think it's probably closer to 24-21 Colts. And that's just because of the giving them the nod because of Malik Willis. I would feel
I'll
so
change
much
it.
worse going into
I'll
it
change mine to
with
that.
Jordan Love.
I'll change mine to that because I did agree with Kevin that it would go down to one turnover. So I'll say 24-21 also Colts but again, I don't think Malik Willis has ever put up more than 20 points as a game. I mean, we can go back and check the tape. I could be wrong, but I don't think he's ever put up more than 20 points in a game.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'll also say that none of this matters because it's going to be Kansas City and Detroit in the Super Bowl at the end of the year anyway. So
I know how pissed are you going to be when that happens?
I'm gonna be livid.
You're going to be
Well, in
pissed.
that event, you want Kansas City, right, Kev?
Oh yeah.
It between those. No, I'm still from Detroit. I still got to roll with the boys, but
Really?
I'm gonna hate every moment of watching them win a Super Bowl because I honestly think they're gonna win the Super Bowl this year.
I
They look
agree with you,
so
man.
good.
All right. This has been another bleeding with the enemy episode. We call our fans bleeders, Kevin, because we're cold blooded. So, and we always say we bleed blue. So, this has been a cold blooded podcast. That's Kevin Macnamara, very very funny comedian, writer, extraordinaire, talented man who can also kick your ass if you're in Thailand, and lady boy. Just kidding. Anyways, that's gonna do it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, guys.